Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, checking in with a late October weekly garden tour. Well, I hope you all exercised your right to vote. Got mine done a little early today, and I'm getting ready to head out of town, so I'm making this garden tour a little bit early, but to show you how everything is faring as we close out the month of October here in Central North Carolina. We have no frost in the forecast. In fact, we have a very warm and a continued very dry forecast, which is actually relatively normal, but it's definitely dry, and I'm glad that I haven't gotten ahead of myself in planting, because if you're planting right now, you are definitely having to irrigate. So fingers crossed, when I get home by mid-November, we will start getting a little precipitation, and by then we probably will have had frost, and these incredible borders will all be toasty. It'll be time to pull them out. Well, more appropriately, mow them down and get everything reseeded with the cottage garden mixes. But without further ado, let me go ahead and turn this camera around so that you can see everything up close and personal at least one last time as we celebrate the ending of October. I am so happy that I indulged in buying lots and lots of Kufia this year, because it is not disappointed. Honestly, there hasn't been a single day where this plant wasn't in full bloom, and you can see how nice and large it gets. This is Vermillionaire, which is from Proven Winners. I really do like it a lot, mixed with the Alabama Sunset Coleus. And of course, the the zinnias are looking pretty rough at this stage, but that's okay. You know what? Their flowers float beautifully, and that's the primary way that I use them. Now, I am excited that when I get back from Tulsa, we are hosting a wedding, and I am planning on doing lots and lots of flower arrangements by just doing cutbacks with all of these annuals, knowing that they're gonna die with frost anyway. So no reason not to use them for that super special occasion. Now over here, I wanted to show you what the sesame looks like when it starts to dry out, and it's definitely time to collect, but I am running out of time, so I'm not sure I'm gonna get to it. But you can see in those capsules, that's where all the seeds are, and that's sesame seed right there, like what's on hamburger buns. And every single one, all the way up the entire stalk, is full of seed. And really the easiest thing to do, and actually I should just go ahead and do this, is cut the plant off and then put it into a wheelbarrow or something and let the seeds naturally fall out. And since I've just said that out loud, I'm gonna go ahead, take my own advice and do it, because I want to collect the seed. I am so impressed with that Charles Grimaldi Brugmansia, or Angel's Trumpet. I have been watering that a little when I water the pots on the back porch, just because it gets pretty wilty. We are very dry. The Seminole Pumpkin is looking great. I really should be harvesting these, but I've decided I'm gonna wait until I get back, because we're gonna use these as table decorations for the wedding, in addition to the fact that you can eat them. I'm gonna share a bunch of squash and stuff with the wedding guests, just as a means of taking some of the pressure off of me. And I can't believe that the Bright Eyes Phlox is actually still putting out flowers, and there's actually a fair number of pollinators still gathering nectar from it, namely moths, which are very active in the evenings. And as we walk over here, boy, that mangave is just outstanding. And I really like this combination of oregano and creeping Jenny together. I didn't think anything could overwhelm creeping Jenny, but apparently oregano can. I didn't have big expectations for how well the oregano would do, and I do need to go and harvest a bunch and dry it so that I can add it to my dried herbed holiday gifts. I did want to show you over here that some of the different varieties of mums are blooming. This is kind of a cool, weird one that I actually propagated from a plant at the Ralston Arboretum. I don't remember its name, but I really like it. And then this sweet one over here I actually got this from my dear friend Jason Reeves, who is an incredible horticulturalist in Western Tennessee. I call it Jason's grandma. I believe its proper cultivar name is a Japanese name, but I don't remember it. I just remember him saying that his grandma grew this, and so I was like, I have a piece of Jason's grandma's garden. And you can see it's done a great job spreading, you know, covering the ground, which is always what my goal is. And this is another one that is excellent for making floating flower arrangements. It's just so dainty and sweet, and it lasts a really long time. And speaking of ground plane coverage, I had a garden club visiting this week, and they were just so excited about the north side here, and, you know, asking about all the different plants that are making it so I don't have to mulch. And you know, here we've got a great example of a Juga that has done wonderfully, mixed with sedum, of course, maidenhair ferns, hellebores, which I do try to prevent from seeding. And now that it's been nice moderate weather, the alstroemeria is really rocking and rolling. You know, this died back in the extreme heat and drought of June, and it will die back if we get much below 20 degrees in the winter. But it's an outstanding foliage plant for spring and fall. It does bloom, but I don't grow it for its flowers. I grow it for this awesome foliage, which is also a fantastic element in floating flower arrangements. Well, the days are getting rapidly shorter, and next week, of course, is the time change, which I hate so very much. You can see the bananas are looking a bit rough, and that is from the dry. I did plant a bunch of sweet peas along this arbor. I did it yesterday. I did not make a video of it because it just wasn't that interesting. But hopefully the sweet peas will start to germinate and they will grow on the arbor through the winter season, because everything else that's planted on this will either die or go dormant for the cool season. I had great friends visiting this week, and they were just so impressed with this sassafras grove that has filled in here. It had been a few years since they had been here, and they couldn't believe how much the garden had changed. And the sassafras isn't super long-lived, but it really does give great fall color. You can really see it coloring up over there. And the fact that I didn't have to plant it is what makes it so extraordinary. All the succulents look great. Actually, because there's no frost in the forecast, actually it's a very warm forecast, I'm planning to leave all of these here because I think it looks really good. And if I start messing with the pots, everything will look funny, and I want it to look as good as possible for the wedding. Lots of tomatoes are still growing, and oh my goodness, I see two that need to come into the house. This is variety Awesome. It's an easy one to remember. Awesome. It's part of Craig LaHoulier's dwarf heirloom tomato project. And look at that. Beautiful, ripe, slicing heirlooms the end of October. You just can't beat that. And, you know, these pots definitely are not in their prime, but that's okay. I'm aiming for a mid-November start to getting all my containers transitioned. I'm still deeply in love with this incredible sorghum. I've never grown this variety. This is Sundrip from Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, and Sugar Drip. Yeah, I think it's Sugar Drip. And the seeds are so beautiful. I'm looking forward to making some meals from that. The plumbago, it just gets better and better. I don't regret pulling out the coleus early because it's really allowing the plumbago to have more space, and it really would be great if the plumbago turned out to be perennial here, since this bed is going to be going through a huge transition when we pull out the pool, probably in December or January. I'm gonna be able to totally rethink how this bed is oriented and what gets planted here, and I'm excited to think about it from a whole different perspective. But I really love the blue in the plumbago, And oh, just to show you, the girls are here for the garden tour. There's Sophia, the golden panther, and Ava Grace, who doesn't always like to make video appearances. She's a little shy. I will admit that keeping everything watered is definitely like feeling like a full-time job. Everything is so dry, and the air is dry, so things are drying out even faster. But all of this area that's predominantly vegetables, tons of peppers, more eggplant, there's still even some tomatoes growing. Everything is looking good. Just a little wilty because I didn't water today. And I definitely need to water because I fly out tomorrow. But again, this will all die with frost, so just enjoying the last few frost-free weeks and really appreciating all the harvests at this time of year. You know, I always think that the very first tomatoes and the last tomatoes are always the most special. And these cream sausage are so delicious. And everybody who's been visiting is just over the moon excited about this hardy citrus, which is a tree that I got from the J.C. Ralston Arboretum in Raleigh. And obviously it's hardy. You can see it's quite enormous. It's very bitter, but it's not as bad as I once remembered. We tried eating one yesterday. It's like a really sour grapefruit. That's the flavor. And it's pretty thick rind, but it is palatable. And I actually drank some with some tequila, and it was actually pretty good. So I'm amending my my statements about this. I'm glad I gave it. I'm glad I gave it another try. I wouldn't recommend eating it after you've brushed your teeth, but it's a lot more edible than I remember it being. So maybe there's something about harvesting it now, and when you wait too long, the flavor gets worse, because I don't usually harvest these until like mid to late December. So I don't know. I'm going to be at the International Plant Propagator Society meeting for the next few days, and there is definitely someone there that I'll be able to ask that question to and get a proper answer. So you'll have to tune in, and I'll be able to give you an update. Well, everybody, I hope that you have enjoyed part 1 of my late October weekly garden tour, and I hope you'll tune in tomorrow to see more right here from my gardens in Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina. As always, thanks so much for watching, and happy gardening.